Rain pelted the rusted roof of the small mud house as Amelia scrubbed the last trace of ash from the cooking pot. Her hands were raw, fingers trembling, but she dared not stop. Any sign of delay, and her stepmother would find another reason to strike. "Are you done, girl?" A shrill voice called from inside. "Yes, Ma," Amelia whispered. The door creaked open. Rebecca, her stepmother, stepped out with a smirk. "Good, because someone's coming to take you away tomorrow." Amelia blinked, confused. "Take me?" "A wealthy family in the city. They need a maid." "You're going." Rebecca tossed a faded dress at her. "Wear this. Look useful." Amelia's heart sank. She was only 15. Her parents were long gone, swallowed by a flood that buried their village years ago. Rebecca had taken her in, but only for the monthly stipend from a church charity. That night, Amelia lay awake, staring at the cracked ceiling. She remembered her mother's lullaby, her father's warm laughter. Tomorrow, she would belong to strangers. She didn't know their names, only that her freedom ended at dawn. The rickety bus stopped in front of a towering gate adorned with gold trimmings. Amelia stepped off, clutching the small plastic bag that held all she owned. The gate opened, revealing a marble driveway and a mansion that looked like something from the TV she used to glimpse through shop windows. A man in black stood at the entrance, arms folded. He didn't smile. "You're the new help," Amelia nodded. "Yes, sir. Follow me. Don't talk unless spoken to. Don't touch what you shouldn't." Inside, the air smelled of roses and disinfectant. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above, and a staircase wound up like a spiral ribbon. A woman descended slowly. She wore silk and diamonds and looked like royalty. "You must be the village girl," she said. "I'm Mrs. Whitaker." Amelia lowered her gaze. "Yes, Ma. You'll work in the laundry and serve my daughter. If she likes you, you stay. If not..." She shrugged. That night, Amelia met Evelyn, the daughter, and nothing about her was what Amelia expected. Evelyn had sharp eyes, perfectly styled hair, and a voice that dripped with cold amusement. She looked Amelia up and down like she was a stray cat. "You'll call me Miss Evelyn," she said, tossing her shoes aside. "Clean those." Amelia picked them up, dusting the white suede carefully. Evelyn watched. "You're quieter than the last girl." Amelia didn't answer. "Good. I don't like noise." Over the days that followed, Amelia learned Evelyn's routines, her favorite smoothies, the way she liked her towels folded, her favorite brand of nail polish. But behind Evelyn's perfection was something off. Her laughter never reached her eyes. Her friends whispered behind her back. She rarely smiled unless she was mocking someone. One evening, Evelyn caught Amelia reading a newspaper in the laundry room. "Where did you learn to read?" she asked, almost irritated. "My father taught me," Amelia replied softly. Evelyn stared, then left without a word. That was the first time Amelia saw her pause. Weeks passed. Then came the slap. Amelia had spilled juice on the edge of the carpet. Just a drop. Evelyn's palm came fast, sharp. "This is imported." Tears welled in Amelia's eyes, but she said nothing. That night, Mrs. Whitaker called her to the kitchen. "You embarrassed this family," she hissed. "One more mistake, and you'll be sent back to the gutters you came from." Amelia nodded, head bowed. She couldn't go back. Not to Rebecca. Not to that hollow house. In her room, the storage closet they called a room. Amelia bit her lip to stop the sobs. She stared at the ceiling again. But this time, she wasn't just sad. She was angry. One morning, while cleaning Evelyn's room, Amelia found a diary. It was unlocked. Temptation 1. She flipped through it, and what she read made her blood freeze. Evelyn had written, disturbing things, plans to frame classmates, secret blackmail letters, fake social media accounts used to torment girls in school. One entry stood out. The maid knows too much. If she talks, I'll ruin her. Amelia shut the book fast, heart racing. She hadn't known Evelyn saw her as a threat. Later that evening, Evelyn stared at her longer than usual. You didn't touch anything in my room, did you? Amelia swallowed. No, Miss Evelyn. Evelyn smirked. Good. But her eyes said otherwise. Amelia knew the clock had started ticking. Amelia was careful. She stayed out of Evelyn's way. Did everything twice as perfect. Smiled when spoken to. Kept her head down, but the walls were closing in. One day, the family's laptop went missing. Mrs. Whitaker summoned Amelia to the living room. You were the last in the study. I didn't take anything, Ma, she said, voice trembling. Then explain this, she snapped, showing surveillance footage. It showed Amelia entering the room, but not leaving. It had been edited. I didn't this. Isn't Mrs. Whitaker didn't let her finish. You stole from us. Evelyn stood in the corner, arms crossed, watching. Amelia was dragged to the servants' quarters, locked in. No food till we get the truth. Alone in the dark, Amelia whispered to herself. Why are you doing this? The next day, the laptop was found under the couch, where the maid had cleaned days ago. No apology followed. Just silence. Evelyn smiled. Tessa. That was the name of the new girl who joined the household staff. She was bold, talkative, and far too curious for her own good. On her second day, she approached Amelia during laundry duty. You've been here a while, haven't you? She asked. Amelia nodded. I heard Miss Evelyn isn't as perfect as she looks. Amelia stiffened. I'm not trying to gossip, Tessa continued, lowering her voice. But I saw her hurting herself in the mirror, talking to herself. Amelia looked at her sharply. I think she's unstable, Tessa said, and dangerous. That night, Tessa whispered through the walls. If we work together, maybe we can get out. Amelia didn't reply, but for the first time she didn't feel alone. A week later, Evelyn announced a surprise weekend trip for the family to their private estate upcountry. The staff was to remain behind, except Amelia and Tessa, who were chosen to go along. The estate was larger than Amelia imagined, surrounded by tall hedges, fountains, and acres of land. It felt isolated, too quiet. The first night, Evelyn seemed calm. She asked Amelia to join her in the parlor. You've lasted longer than most, she said. Do you know why? Amelia shook her head. Evelyn leaned closer. Because you don't ask questions. But curiosity kills. Amelia remained silent. Evelyn stared at her as though expecting a reaction. None came. Later that night, Tessa whispered, She's planning something. We need to be ready. Amelia nodded, but she didn't know what ready meant anymore. The next morning, Evelyn told Tessa to clean the upper west wing alone. Hours passed. Tessa didn't return. Amelia found her unconscious at the bottom of the staircase, blood trailing from her temple. She pushed me, Tessa muttered before blacking out. Mrs. Whitaker claimed it was an accident. She was careless, she said coldly. But Amelia knew better, and she knew she was next. Days after Tessa's return from the hospital, she was fired. No warning, no goodbye. Amelia was alone again. She found a note tucked beneath her mattress. In Tessa's handwriting. Asterisk, she's hiding something in the basement. Be careful. Asterisk, Amelia's heart pounded. She had never been allowed near the basement. That night, she crept down the stairs, barefoot, careful not to make a sound. The basement door was locked, but the tiny key she'd once found in Evelyn's drawer marked with a single E fit perfectly. The door creaked open. The air inside was damp, cold, shelves lined with old documents, dusty boxes, and strange machines she didn't recognize. She found a folder labeled Trial X. Inside were photographs of children, test results, blood types, notes with Evelyn's initials. Amelia flipped through them, horrified. One photo made her hands shake. It was her, a younger version taken without her knowledge, back in the village. She dropped the file and backed away. Suddenly, footsteps. She barely made it up the stairs before Evelyn appeared at the top, holding a glass of wine. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked. Amelia forced a smile. "Just thirsty." Evelyn's gaze lingered, but she said nothing. For now, Amelia knew she had crossed a line. There was no going back. Over the next week, Amelia pretended nothing had changed. But her mind raced. The files in the basement weren't just about her. They were part of something bigger. Names, codes, medical jargon she didn't understand. She had to know more. She contacted a retired gardener, James, who had worked for the Whitakers years ago. They met secretly in the park. "You're risking a lot coming here," he warned. Amelia showed him one of the photocopied documents she had managed to smuggle out. James studied it, then paled. This looks like genetic testing. Illegal, experimental. Where did you find this?" Amelia told him. James rubbed his face. "I always knew something wasn't right with that family." He handed her a card. "There's a man, Martin Gray, investigative journalist. He's been after the Whitakers for years. Give this to him." Amelia nodded. That night, she called the number. A deep voice answered. "Hello? My name is Amelia," she said. "I have something you need to see." The line went quiet. Then, "Meet me tomorrow." Discreetly. The meeting was brief. Martin listened, skeptical at first, until he saw the documents. "Where did you get these?" he asked. "From their basement," Amelia replied. Martin stared at her. "You understand what this means?" "Not everything, but enough to know people are in danger." Martin nodded. "I'll start digging. But you need to be careful, you're sitting on a volcano." He gave her a tiny recording device. "If you can catch Evelyn or her mother saying anything, record it." Amelia slipped the device into her apron pocket. Her hands didn't stop trembling for days. Mrs. Whitaker was growing restless. Evelyn too. They sensed something. One evening, Evelyn cornered Amelia in the hallway. "You've been acting different," she said. "Did you forget your place?" "No, Miss Evelyn." "Then prove it. Come with me." She led Amelia to the garden shed. Inside was a cage. Inside the cage, a terrified puppy. "Kill it," Evelyn said, holding out a small knife. Amelia's eyes widened. "Why?" "Because I said so. Or I'll tell Mother you've been stealing." Tears filled Amelia's eyes. "I won't do it." Evelyn's eyes gleamed. "Then, you'll wish you had." The next day, all of Amelia's clothes were burned. Her mattress soaked. Her food ration halved. She was locked in the storeroom for 12 hours. When let out, she found her name smeared across the staff board in red paint. "Thief." She said nothing, but she was done being afraid. She began recording. Every insult, every threat, every whisper from Evelyn's cruel mouth. One night, she overheard a conversation between Mrs. Whitaker and a man in a suit. "The research must continue," he said. We've already invested too much. And the girl? Dispose of her. Quietly. Amelia caught it all. She sent the recording to Martin. Within hours he replied, "We have enough. But we need one more piece proof they're using these children for tests." Amelia returned to the basement. This time, she found a door she hadn't noticed before. Behind it, a small lab. Vials. Papers. A metal chair with straps. She took pictures. All of them. And fled. The next day, a black car arrived. Police. Uniformed men entered the mansion. Amelia watched from the window as Martin stepped out, flanked by investigators. Evelyn screamed. Mrs. Whitaker fainted. Amelia stepped outside, eyes wide with tears. "It's over," Martin said gently. "You're safe." But Amelia didn't feel safe. Not yet. Not until the world knew what they had done. The news broke like wildfire. Whitaker family arrested for human experimentation. Headlines screamed across every channel. Journalists camped outside the mansion gates, hungry for updates. Martin kept Amelia hidden at a safe house. Her name was kept secret for now, but whispers began to spread. A maid had exposed it all. Amelia. The girl with no money, no family. The girl who brought down giants. But Amelia wasn't celebrating. Tessa was missing. No one knew where she had been taken after her dismissal. Amelia feared the worst. She shared her concerns with Martin, who vowed to find her. Investigations revealed the truth. For years, the Whitakers had funded secret medical trials on orphans and village children. Experiments disguised as charity wellness tests. Evelyn's diary became evidence. So did Amelia's recordings. The court case gripped the nation. Evelyn sat in silence throughout most of it. Mrs. Whitaker denied everything until the evidence crushed her lies. Then she broke. "It was never supposed to go this far," she sobbed. "We were told it was research for good." The man in the suit, the investor, was arrested too. The circle widened. Amelia testified, voice calm but steady. "I was their maid. But I saw everything. And I remember every child's face." The court fell silent. The judge ruled life imprisonment for both Evelyn and her mother. Additional trials were pending. Amelia walked out of the courthouse into flashing cameras. But she didn't smile. Because the fight wasn't over. Tessa was still out there. And so were others like her. Martin offered Amelia a chance. "Help. US find them. Expose the rest. Join the investigation." Amelia didn't hesitate. "I'm in." She changed her name. Dyed her hair. Took on a new identity. Not to hide but to work. She began traveling with Martin. From one orphanage to another. From school records to abandoned clinics. Each time, the same pattern. Children used, then erased. But Amelia had a gift. She remembered every face, every name, every scar. Her trauma had turned her into a map, one that led to truth. Months passed. One night, while working through files in Uganda, Martin called her over. "We found Tessa." Her hands shook as she read the report. A rural shelter in Kenya. Under a different name. Alive, but barely. They flew the next morning. Tessa was pale, bruised, but when she saw Amelia, she smiled. "You didn't forget me." Amelia hugged her tightly. "Never." They brought Tessa to a private hospital. No press. No police. Just healing. Just peace. Tessa whispered to Amelia, "You saved me. You saved all of us." But Amelia shook her head. "I'm not finished yet." Amelia launched a foundation. Quietly, anonymously, called the Grey Light Fund, after her late father, whose name she finally revealed. Its goal, to investigate orphan mistreatment and provide education for displaced children. Funds began to pour in from international donors who had followed the case. Martin helped with structure. Tessa recovered and joined as outreach coordinator. Together, they lit fires in dark places. Governments were forced to respond. Hidden. Files surfaced. By the time Amelia turned 20, she had done what entire systems had failed to do: create hope. But with success came new threats. A masked group began sending warnings. Notes. Emails. Stop digging. You'll end up like the others. Martin insisted on hiring security. But Amelia refused to live in fear again. If they want me, afraid, she said, then I'm doing something right. Her work continued. A viral documentary aired her story. Finally, her face was revealed. The world met the girl behind the case. The maid who became a movement. Invitations came in. Speaking engagements, interviews, awards. But Amelia declined most of them. She had a bigger plan. One she hadn't shared yet. She wanted to return to the village. The place where her parents died. Where it all began. Martin drove her there himself. The roads were rough. The house was gone. But the land remained. Amelia knelt on the soil, silent. Then she spoke. You raised a fighter, Mama. And I'm not done. She built a school there. Named it after her mother. Children came barefoot, excited. Smiling, reading, learning, living. And Amelia smiled for the first time in years. Not for the camera, but for herself, and for the ones she had saved. The school flourished. Within months, over 200 children had enrolled. Local teachers were trained, dormitories built, and a small clinic opened beside the classrooms. Amelia stood each morning to greet the children as they arrived. Some carried torn books, others nothing but joy. They looked at her like she was magic, like she had reached into darkness and pulled out the sun. But even light draws shadows. One evening, while closing the school gates, she noticed a man in a black SUV parked across the road. He didn't move, didn't blink, just watched. Martin arrived minutes later. When Amelia turned to point him out, the vehicle was gone. They're watching, Martin said. I know, Amelia replied. Let them. Still, the warnings resumed, this time more personal. Pictures of her taken without her knowledge. Emails from untraceable accounts. Not everyone wants the truth free. One message struck harder than the rest. Asterisk, you forgot Evelyn wasn't working alone. Asterisk, Amelia stared at it for hours. Could there be more? Martin brought in cybersecurity experts. They dug into the Whitaker files again. That's when they found it. A second lab. Hidden under a foundation name. Registered in Morocco. Funded by a shell company tied to offshore accounts. The address matched an old children's wellness retreat. Amelia booked a flight. She didn't tell anyone but Martin and Tessa. I need to see it myself, she said. Tessa grabbed her hand. Then I'm coming too. They arrived under the guise of journalists. The facility appeared abandoned. But deep inside, they found a locked door. Martin hacked the keypad. What they saw chilled them. Files, machines, and a series of photos on the wall, young girls, each with a red X across their face. One had no X, it was Amelia. The floorboards creaked behind them. Guards, they barely escaped through the back. Amelia collapsed behind a dumpster, shaking. They're still active, she whispered. Still hunting, Martin nodded. We need to burn the rest of it down. Back home, they leaked the documents to a global task force. Raids followed. Arrests made. But the leaders vanished ghosts with money. One name surfaced repeatedly. In encrypted files. The Gray Protocol. It was linked to Evelyn, but no one knew what it meant. Not yet. Amelia returned to her school, heart heavier. That night, she found a letter slipped under her door. No name. Just a phrase. Asterisk, you are the key. Evelyn was only the door. Asterisk, she felt the weight of it in her chest. Everything wasn't over. It was just evolving. She increased security, took self-defense training, learned how to shoot, not to kill, but to survive. Then the bomb threat came. The school had to be evacuated. No device was found, but the message was clear. You dig, we? Barry, Martin was furious. We need to move you. No, Amelia said. I won't run. I won't be Evelyn's shadow. But in private, she broke down. Tessa held her as she wept. I'm tired, Tessa. I'm so tired. Tessa wiped her tears. But you're not finished. Amelia took a break from the spotlight. For months, she worked quietly, researching Gray Protocol. What she found changed everything. It wasn't just a lab project. It was a global network. Wealthy donors, politicians, doctors, all united under one goal: restructure humanity from the root. They believed in genetic purification, using children, using orphans. It had started with the Whitakers, but they were just a spoke in the wheel. Amelia stared at the list of names. One stood out. A senator she had once spoken with during an award ceremony. A man who had shaken her hand, who had smiled. They walk among us, she whispered. She called Martin. We go public, fully, no fear. They planned the press conference. Tessa helped prepare the evidence. The day arrived. Amelia stepped onto the stage. Microphones everywhere. Cameras flashing. She took a breath. My name is Amelia Gray, and I have a story to tell you. The world listened, and everything changed again. The broadcast shattered records. Over 90 million views in the first 24 hours. Major networks replayed her words. This isn't just about one family. It's about a system, one that preys on silence. Within days, protests erupted in major cities. People demanded investigations, demanded answers. The Gray Protocol was no longer a rumor. It was exposed. But exposure came with consequences. Tessa was followed on her way home. Martin's email was hacked. A drone flew above Amelia's school, hovering for hours. She refused to back down. This is war, she told Martin. And we're not losing. Together, they formed a coalition. Whistleblowers, former victims, data experts, and legal minds. They called it the Light Met. It operated from secret servers, protected by firewalls. Slowly, they began to leak names. Not accusations, evidence. Documents, transfers, medical records. Every leak shook the elite. One by one, resignations followed. Arrests, exiles. But still, no sign of the head. Amelia believed there was one person above them all. A puppeteer. She turned to her past for clues. Evelyn's diary, the lab notes, her own stolen photo from childhood. One name kept resurfacing in the margins. Wren. At first, it seemed like a scribble, but digging revealed a Dr. Myra Wren, biotech researcher, disappeared 5 years ago. Rumored dead, but Amelia didn't believe it. She traveled to Romania, where Wren had last been seen. She walked through old villages, questioning doctors, retired nurses. One finally cracked. She had a facility in the mountains, closed now. Burned, they said. Amelia hiked for hours, found the ruins, cold stone walls. But in the rubble a metal box, Inside, vials, patient logs, and a USB drive. She returned to the city. Martin examined the files. These children were modified, altered genetically. Some survived. Some didn't. One file had no name, just a code. XG1. The photo made Amelia drop the drive. It was her. Again. This time in a hospital gown. Wren had tested on her as a baby. Her real parents weren't just victims of a flood. They were murdered. To cover it, she fell to her knees. They made me part of it. Martin crouched beside her. But you broke it. You shattered it all. Amelia stared into the distance. Not yet. Not until she's found. Interpol opened a formal case. With the USB, they traced funding to Zurich, and then to Brazil. But Wren was a ghost. Until one day an email arrived. No sender. Just words. You want the truth? Come alone. I'll give it to you. It was signed, Wren. Martin protested. Kessa begged. But Amelia was resolved. This ends with me. She flew to an abandoned monastery in Chile, as directed. Alone. At midnight. Wren was there. Grey hair. Calm smile. You look just like your mother, she said. Except she never fought back. Amelia didn't blink. Why me? Wren shrugged. You were born with a mutation. We saw potential. But you survived more than just the trials. You became the cure to our disease. You tortured children. I elevated them. You destroyed families. I created evolution. You're sick, Amelia whispered. Wren stepped forward. And you're proof it worked. You were stronger, smarter, more resilient. Amelia pulled out a recorder. That's all I needed. She turned, walked away. Wren didn't chase her. You'll come back, she called. You're one of us, whether you like it or not. Amelia didn't answer, but her heart pounded with fear and rage. Wren was alive, and the Gray Protocol wasn't done. Amelia returned from Chile with a new fire in her chest. The world had seen her strength, but Wren's words echoed like a curse. You're one of us. She wanted to reject it, but how could she? Her DNA had been manipulated, her childhood stolen, her memories rewritten. Martin analyzed the recorder. We have her voice, her admission. But it's not enough. We need her arrested. Interpol moved fast, but Wren had vanished again. She had networks, resources, and years of experience hiding in the shadows. Amelia pushed forward. The light net launched Operation Clean Route, coordinated international effort to dismantle every node connected to Gray Protocol. Hidden labs in Eastern Europe. Secret surgeries in the Philippines. Fake adoption agencies in Africa. Every stone they turned revealed another horror. But people started fighting back. Survivors came forward. Governments that once turned a blind eye were now under pressure. Global courts opened new tribunals. Still, Amelia couldn't sleep. Wren was out there. Watching. Waiting. One evening, while reviewing files alone, she received a package. No sender. Inside, a single photograph. Her as a baby, asleep in a lab. On the back, you weren't the only one. Martin found her trembling. There are more, she whispered. There were others. Martin nodded slowly. It was a program. You were subject one. But there may be 10 or more. Amelia closed her eyes. We have to find them. They began tracing records. Most had been erased. But one name survived. Caleb Ward. Subject 2. Last seen in Dubai. They tracked him to a hospital unconscious. He had been in a coma for 3 years, the result of a seizure during experimentation. Amelia sat by his bed. He looked like her, same. Dark eyes, same crescent scar near the ear. She reached for his hand. "You're not alone anymore." Tessa joined them. "We can move him to our facility," Amelia nodded. "He's proof. And maybe a mirror." Weeks passed. Caleb remained unresponsive, but tests showed elevated brain activity. "He hears you," the doctor said. Amelia spoke to him daily, told him stories, sang the lullaby her mother used to hum. One morning, as she poured water into a bowl, she heard a whisper. "Amelia." She turned. Caleb's eyes were open. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "You're awake." He nodded faintly. "I dreamed." "Of fire. Me too." They held hands. No more words, just understanding. In the following months, Caleb slowly recovered. He remembered fragments, needles, metal rooms, a woman with silver hair. "Wren," Amelia said. He flinched. "She called me her soldier." Martin documented everything. Amelia's story grew. She and Caleb were presented at a global ethics summit. Their testimonies rocked the medical world. New laws were proposed. Emergency ethics boards created. But Wren remained free. Caleb remembered coordinates, a place in Algeria, a compound. In the desert, Interpol investigated. Nothing but dust. But Amelia sensed Wren had moved underground. A whisper network called Meridian Circle. Surface scientists and elites trying to restart the protocol. They traced an encrypted server to Seoul. A raid followed. They found documents, money trails, and a plan. Initiate Generation Alpha. Not just tests now, but births. Engineered children. Modified embryos. Amelia's voice shook. "They're building an army." Caleb clenched his fists. "Then we stopped them." Together they traveled to Geneva, where the UN held an emergency session. Amelia gave her final testimony. "We are not projects, we are people. And every child used in silence deserves to be heard." The world rose behind her. Funding for LightNet tripled. Special task forces were formed. But Amelia knew this war wouldn't be won in courts alone. She would have to go back to the shadows, to where it all began. Months passed, but Amelia couldn't rest. Every corner of her soul felt the unfinished weight. She had taken down the Whitakers, exposed Wren, revived Caleb. But evil wasn't dead, it had only changed shape. The Meridian Circle was moving again, more careful, more hidden. Amelia and Caleb became partners in the fight. He had flashes, visions, sometimes, of memories buried deep in his altered mind. Amelia would sit with him late into the night as he described strange places, strange faces. One name kept surfacing. Lysander. Not Wren. Someone else. The financier. The mind behind the protocol's next phase. "He never showed his face," Caleb said. "But he was always there." They traced him to a facility under construction in the Austrian Alps, disguised as a neuroscience retreat. Amelia, Caleb, Martin, and an elite team of investigators planned the mission like a heist. Silent, strategic, dangerous. They infiltrated at night. Cold winds howled around them as they crept through underground tunnels. Inside, rows of infant incubators, files labeled Generation Alpha, genetic codes, growth acceleration formulas. "They've already started," Martin whispered. "This isn't science. It's slaughter." Suddenly, an alarm blared. They had been spotted. Guards poured in. Gunfire erupted. Amelia grabbed a flash drive and Caleb shielded her. "Go," he shouted. Martin was hit in the leg. They dragged him out, barely making it to the snowmobiles waiting above. The retreat exploded behind them, a desperate move by the circle to erase their trail. But it was too late. Amelia had the evidence. Global authorities moved swiftly. The footage of the incubators, the blueprints, the research broadcast across every network. Overnight, the Meridian Circle became the world's most hunted organization. But still Lysander was missing. Amelia sat by Martin's hospital bed as he recovered. "You've done more than anyone ever could," he whispered. "But you need to let go now." She shook her head. "Not until it ends." Weeks later, she received a private message. Anonymous. "You want him? Come to Oslo." No police. She didn't hesitate. Tessa begged her not to go alone. Caleb insisted on joining her. But Amelia knew this had to be her story's final chapter. She arrived in Oslo at dusk. A quiet cafe. A man in a charcoal coat sat waiting. Grey beard, calm eyes. "You must be Amelia." She didn't respond. He smiled. "I'm not here to run. I'm here to surrender." It was Lysander. "Why?" she asked. "Why come forward now?" He shrugged. "Because you've already won. The world changed. I lost. You experimented on children. And you exposed us. Brighter minds always rise." He handed her a drive. "This has everything. Names, proof, all of it." Amelia took it, hand shaking. "You'll stand trial." He nodded. "I deserve to." And then he walked out the door, hands raised. Authorities waiting outside arrested him without a word. Back home, Amelia watched the sunrise. She had given the world the truth, not just to destroy the darkness, but to light a path for others. She reopened the school, rebuilt the foundation, and expanded her work globally. Caleb became a speaker, helping other survivors find their voice. Tessa ran outreach programs across 5 countries. And Amelia? She walked into the classrooms each morning, greeting the children, no longer as a maid, not as an orphan, but as a warrior who turned pain into purpose. Her scars became her strength, her silence, her battle cry. And though her enemies had fallen, her mission never stopped. Because, for every child forgotten by the world, Amelia Gray would always be watching, always fighting, always ready. The end